How's it going, everybody? This is the Paws Up preview for Wednesday Night Football. Well, that's strange, but it's the FIU Panthers against the New Mexico State Aggies. As always, I'm Jake Gibson, joined alongside my friends and co-hosts Kevin Barral and Jonathan Mayer. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Wednesday night, gotta love it. FIU has a chance to win their first conference game of the year against a New Mexico State team that's kind of underperformed a little bit. They're right now, I believe, 2-3 on the year. They lost to UMass. They're interchanging wins and losses, no real win streak or losing streak of some sort. And they're going up against FIU is going up against a pretty good quarterback in Diego Pavia, which we'll get into soon.
FIU and having to match up against great quarterbacks, something we've seen far too
Dual
often.
threat quarterbacks.
Yeah. Johnny, it's been a while since you've been part of the preview show, but it's nice to have you back on. How are you feeling today?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. Finally, a road game. We can all be here together on a live stream. But yeah, I'm excited. The guys got a well-needed rest after the Liberty game, and it's the right time to kind of get adjusted to this Wednesday night schedule, which whole month we'll be on national television, which is going to be awesome for exposure for the whole team. But yeah, I'm excited to get going. And going back to a place, New Mexico State, where FIU last year won its first FBS game in over 1,000 days. So they made some history last year, and their program's right. So hopefully they can replicate the same thing and go back-to-back from Las Cruces with a W.
It kind of feels like FIU is kind of starting the season again. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like you're 0-0. You're starting a Wednesday night game at 9 p.m., hence 9 p.m., just like the La Tech game. It kind of feels like you're restarting the season a little bit. But, you still have another bye week. But no matter what, all Wednesday games from here, I believe just one more Saturday game, which is that Middle Tennessee one, and I'm probably missing another one right now.
Yeah.
I was going to say Arkansas, Middle, and Western Kentucky.
Arkansas.
Three really good
games. The final three. That three stretch, those three games to close the season. We'll talk maybe a bit more about that later. But, Johnny, I'm glad you mentioned that. The whole month of October, Wednesday night football. I believe 2 games at home and 2 on the road, including this one against New Mexico State.
Vice night next week.
Vice night next week. Of course, we're all going to be decked out in Vice. The logo is going to change to Vice. You guys know the drill by now. But I wanted to talk about that. I think that's the biggest elephant in the room so far without getting into the teams. Wednesday night football. I don't think I've ever seen a Wednesday night football game, collegiate, high school, or professional. How do you think the players and coaches are approaching this? Because Mike McIntyre mentioned in the Friday presser that they're excited. It's a nationally televised game. It's going to have eyes on them, primetime showdown under the lights, etc. But it's just such a weird time to play football. He said that they're treating it like it's a Sunday, but it's the middle of the week. So we'll start with Kevin. How do you think that they're going to handle this?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying there at the end. He kind of mentioned that you're kind of treating your Wednesdays like a Saturdays, which means your Fridays are kind of like Mondays. So you kind of have to adjust your whole your practice schedule. And I think you kind of mentioned it. The weeks kind of feel just a little bit longer, I guess you could say, in some sort of way. You got a couple more days off after that. You're able to kind of see how Conference USA kind of develops. And I think Johnny said it. You're on your national TV. No other game is happening. So, makes a lot of sense to play on Wednesday. I like it. Hopefully, and we're pre-recording this just for the fact, and I don't mind mentioning it, but I kind of hope that they don't do too many more Wednesday games next year because the Marlins.
Right.
Well, and shout out to them during the playoffs.
Shout out Marlins. I always joke about the Marlins. Now we always bring it up. That Billy Gill episode was rough, but I mean, come on. The Marlins are in the postseason. First time they've been in the postseason while playing a full season since 2003 when they won the World Series. But of course, also there in 2020. That was just a crazy.
By now, we kind of know what happened. So
well, they played.
We'll know what happened at least in game 1. So
so best of luck to the Marlins against the Philadelphia Phillies. Should be a fun matchup.
I was going to say though about Wednesday nights. My only concern and question is, how are these guys preparing for school? They're missing 2-3 days of school. That's my concern. I'm like, these guys got
pretty lucky.
They got something going with
maybe they knew about the Wednesday games way ahead of the semester beginning. Maybe they scheduled their classes accordingly pretty much every day except for Wednesday, Friday, and obviously the weekends are off the table. Maybe I'm just assuming.
Maybe it's a good excuse.
Not to expose Johnny's class schedule here, but he does take a couple classes with football players, which is I know you take one with Chase. Does that fall on a Wednesday?
No, it's an online class, so we're good.
Oh, okay. Then
Yeah, we can.
At the end of the day, if the professors are getting an excuse note from Mike McIntyre about why their players aren't at class, I think they have to take it.
Look,
Right?
You're missing class, but for national TV reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, this is amazing exposure not only for the players themselves, but for the program.
University,
and especially the stretch you're kind of going into. You're kind of going against like the bottom barrel of Conference USA teams. Middle Tennessee struggling this season. Houston State, Jacksonville State. I think they're a lot better than people think, but still,
no doubt.
But still not expected to be. I think FIU matches up pretty well against them, and then obviously starting tonight tonight as in Wednesday. Against the Aggies, so that should be a fun matchup. Two good offenses, especially Diego Pavia. He leads the league in passing yards, leads the league in pass efficiency.
Yeah.
Really, really good quarterback. He leads the team in rushing yards too. So I wouldn't say it's a Caden Salter type situation, but definitely very similar, and a guy who not only is explosive on the run, but very explosive at the pass. Obviously, leading a lot of Conference USA leaders.
Yeah, and to clarify, by the way, kickoff is at 9:00. I don't know how big a fan we all are of these 9:00 kickoffs, but
I don't care, but I don't like it on a Wednesday.
Right. I think the best time for a primetime college football game is 7:00.
I think there's a time difference.
Yeah,
it's an 8 p.m. kickoff for them.
I think 7 o'clock.
7:30 maybe.
It's 7 o'clock in New Mexico.
It's not exactly West Coast, but like you're kind of getting there,
Yeah.
But anyway, it's also on CBS Sports Network, by the way, for those curious. So before we talk a bit more about New Mexico State, we have to talk about the Liberty matchup. And again, I'll say this maybe for the final time. Shout out to everyone who watched Kevin and I's preview show from the Roar Lounge, sponsored, of course, by the FIU Alumni Association, where it was a fun time. But at the end of the day, I predicted FIU would keep it close, and then they'd find a way to pull it off. And as it would turn out, that's just a sneak preview for our conference predictions. But I got that one wrong, okay? And Kevin,
I'm the only one who predicted
Liberty in that. So
I did check Liberty, yeah.
You did. So you mentioned Caden Salter. I will say, I think Caden Salter sort of struggled to begin that game, right? Forced fumble, interception. FIU's defense was keeping him on his toes, right? Keeping him in check. The run game couldn't really progress either. But I think the reason why the score got so away from FIU was that obviously the turnovers, one. But number two, their offense, after their first touchdown, was pretty much stagnant. They kept punching the ball, setting up Liberty's high-powered offense around midfield or the 40-yard line. So, Kevin, I'll start with you. You had mentioned Caden Salter and his success, and you had mentioned that the quarterback that FIU is about to play, Pavia, is sort of a similar sort of player when it comes to his ability to both pass and rush. So what is that? So what did FIU learn from their struggles against Salter that they can turn into success against Pavia?
Can't miss tackles. I think that's the easiest way to put it. And, I think McIntyre mentioned this, Mike McIntyre, that New Mexico kind of runs a 2-quarterback system.
Yes.
They have a Pavia, and I'm forgetting the second name, but he was a Texas A&M transfer, and he's also been playing running back, wide receiver. He's kind of been a do-it-all type of player. I don't remember the name, but he's a pretty tall guy.
I'm pulling it up right now. It is give me just a sec. But yeah, they're it's crazy, by the way, to just see a roster and be like, oh, your leading passer is also your leading rusher, and he's the leading rusher by a lot. Like, it's not even close between him and their actual running back star. But anyway,
Stowers. Eli Stowers. Yes, yeah, that's him. Texas A&M transfer. So yeah, Caden Salter really just, when he was able to make a big play, he made it, and this FIU defense kind of just ran out of gas. They were on the field for a very long time.
Yes.
You kind of put the offense and the defense in your hand in hand, where the offense just couldn't get anything going. I mean, let's be honest. Aside from that one touchdown to, I believe, Chris Mitchell, They just weren't able to get anything going. The run game was just getting stomped. Just tough night overall.
Actually, was the touchdown? I know Chris Mitchell had a big part in that drive, but was it not Jenkins that had
the Keywan keeper?
Yeah, the Keywan Jenkins. I believe it was like at the 1 yard line.
Yeah, you're right. It was not a Chris Mitchell TD. It was the Mitchell had the slant, got a good game there. Kind of got a couple other players. Keywan drove it in 1 yard there. So and aside from that, really just unable to get anything going. I think that was the big key here to the game, and that just let the defense out there basically to get tired.
And Johnny, I'll ask you this: Keywan, we've seen him absolutely ball out in pretty much every game he started so far. But I think it would be fair to say this might have been his worst performance as the starting quarterback. And granted, he's a true freshman. 9 for 21, 133 yards, an interception, a lost fumble, and no passing touchdowns. But as we mentioned, he did score that rushing touchdown for FIU at the beginning of the game. So Johnny, what did Liberty do so well that just made Jenkins's night as troubling as it was?
Yeah, I think just, true freshman against it was a good defense. The pass rush, they were really coming at Jenkins and the FIU line. It was just a tough night, and it just showed, Liberty is a good football team. They came in here and they were going to show that they have a lot of talent, and they do up front. And obviously FIU did have some injuries that affected, Jacob Peace and John Bach, who are the top guys on the O-line, were out on past Saturday. So that affected, the ability to kind of get something going. And for Jenkins, it was a little bit tough to kind of set his feet in the pocket. He had a lot of pressure that he had to work with and couldn't really find ways to get out of it.
Yeah, he got sacked like 3 times.
Yeah, and look, as a freshman, he'll over the course of his career, we'll see him make better decisions and get better. That's obviously the best yet to come for him. But just tough night for the offense, and couldn't really get going. I don't know the exact amount of 3 and outs, but FIU really couldn't get offense going all night. They had some good opportunities to, but it was just so hard to keep something momentum going. And a tough night, but a lot of things to look forward to from the standpoint of, it's a Liberty team, but you have a lot of good opportunities ahead in this month of October. That starts with New Mexico State on the road.
Yeah. And then you kind of mentioned it. Jacob Peace and John Bach were both out. I asked Coach just kind of the status on those guys. And just worth mentioning, too, Keywan Jenkins was injured. He had an ankle injury. The one interception he threw, the player landed on his ankle. So he was injured, but he's good to go. He mentioned it. He's fine. Then John Bach is the one who's for sure coming back against the Aggies on Wednesday. John and Jacob Peace, when I asked, I guess he kind of ignored it. Yeah. It was a knee injury. I can't quite tell you the exact term because I couldn't understand the term when you kind of look back and kind of try to figure it out. It was either PCL or MCL. I will say that, but we're just going to call it a knee injury for what it's worth. And usually those do take a little bit longer to kind of heal. So we'll see what his status is for at least you're kind of looking over that Vice night against UTEP, another bad Conference USA team. So another opportunity to get the win there on national TV. But hopefully Keywan gets John Bach back. You really need your first string center. Shout out to their second string, Ming. He got the scholarship. I'm not going to try to say the first name, but you know who I'm talking about. So shout out to him. Very well deserved.
So let's I have a couple more things to ask about this Liberty game before we move on to New Mexico State. The first being, in your opinion, what was the most positive takeaways we can take from FIU in their performance against Liberty? And for me, I think it was absolutely no doubt their defense's ability to force turnovers from Salter, whether it was that interception that did lead into FIU's only touchdown of the game, as well as the forced fumble as Salter was trying to, I believe, dive into the goal line, or at least close to there. He ball popped out. I think FIU, turnover-wise this season, has done pretty well, and I think that was absolutely the highlight from the whole team.
Their defense has been phenomenal. I think that's the easiest way to say it. And I'll say it again. Jovan DeWitt's going to get coaching calls, man. And he's going to get interviews. Say what you want. Not being negative at all. That's actually a really good thing that, someone's looking at FIU and looking at their defense and saying, man, I need Jovan DeWitt, their defensive coordinator. Great story, too. We'll get into that another day, but maybe we should get him on the podcast. He is a very great guy. He's
that's not a bad idea, Kevin.
Super smart. Maybe we'll get him soon. But aside from that, just That defense has been great. CJ Christian, I don't think I could stop mentioning his name. He's been phenomenal this season. I think that's not phenomenal. He's been great. He's been excellent. You can kind of say phenomenal is kind of like perfect at this point. He's worked
phenomenal and excellent are pretty similar, Kevin.
Yeah, we'll use a different terminology. But yeah, he's been great. Worked his way up the depth chart. Was I think Ladarian Polk or Deverick Daniel were at the top. Deverick Daniel still the starter. It was Ladarian Polk. He took over for him. He's been great too. Polk, Deverick Daniel. That whole core has been great. Kind of hope to get Claude Larkins back. He's still out with injury. I think it was like an arm injury. And Marcus Tatum, I know he was out big time injury there. Hopefully he's back soon. Yeah, just kind of hope you get your guys back. Obviously, health wise, this is a huge week for FIU. Kind of get your guys to recover there. So yeah, defense was great. I like the 3 tight end usage there for the most part in the game. Nick Donald, Josiah Meehan, and Rocky Beers. Now Rocky got the start for FIU, which is cool.
Yeah,
only got one catch for like a couple yards. Still nice to see him kind of get into action, and nice to see David Yost implement the tight end. Something that he didn't do too much of last year. I wouldn't say it's the reason that Rivaldo Fairweather isn't an FIU Panther anymore, but probably played into his decision where now he's with Auburn and still playing pretty well.
I was watching the Auburn game this past Saturday, and I saw Rivaldo Fairweather make a catch, and I thought, oh, that's Rivaldo. Let's go. Johnny, you're making Mike McDaniel expressions on the sideline, so I'd like to ask you this. Aside from the defense, what other positives do you have from that Liberty game for FIU?
I'll say this. Do I look like Mike McDaniel? My mom said I look like him.
Halloween is around the corner. If you grab the hoodie and maybe the those
khaki pants.
The khaki pants and the $1 billion watch and all the other drip of McDaniel. Maybe you could. But yeah, what did you think from FIU that you took as a positive?
I think I took it as a positive. I just, I look, and when you lose 38-6, it's hard to pick out the positives.
It ain't easy.
Yeah, but I think I'm optimist. I think what I took as positive is you feel that a game like this, helps. Look, you start 3-1, but having a game like this allows you to say, hey, what did we do wrong? Let's go back and kind of go back to the drawing board and reestablish ourselves. And I think this is good motivation for the team, having a game like this. Obviously, it's tough to lose, but you can learn a lot from games like this. But I really took away is still, look, Chris Mitchell, he is really, really special. There were some plays FIU, maybe some drops or maybe some overthrows that kind of didn't go FIU's way, but he is somebody that I'm still looking forward to, and I think should be on I don't know how to pronounce it, the Bilenkoff. Yeah, I for sure think he'll be awarded that watch list.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think
dude, those are like the top of the top. Like that's Marvin Harrison Jr.
I know, but I mean,
look, I love Chris Mitchell.
Nomination,
but he will not be on that award. Not a single FIU player will ever make that award.
No, Tyrese Chambers made the list a couple years ago. I think he does have a chance. Tyrese Chambers did a couple years ago.
Well, yeah, because he was really good. But I don't think Mitchell could make that.
I think it's
dude.
Lights out! Lights out!
All right. Continue your argument real quick.
I'll say if he keeps balling out, which he has been, I think in this month, I definitely think he'll make the list. So he's been fun to watch. You gotta love Dayton Montiel. I think obviously he punted a lot, but
he had a busy night. We got to see him plenty.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Donovan Manuel too. I mean, that guy, a dog. He
had a down game though. He had a down game against
forced fumbles right now. Leads the nation in forced fumbles.
Yeah, even in his down game, he's still
he was good. Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
He's been phenomenal to watch. I think he that should deserve way more praise than make a watch list. He has been really fun to watch, and I'm glad that he's having
a watch list, but not
he should. Yeah. All right. So last thing. Are we all in agreement, by the way, that Liberty is without a doubt the best team in the conference?
Yeah. It's going to be them versus Western in the CUSA championship.
Them versus Western. Maybe Sam Houston. I mean, they've looked decent so far. But
Jacksonville State, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, JSU. And obviously, don't count out FIU. If they can get on a hot streak here.
That game, I mean, did you guys see the game I think it was last Thursday, Jacksonville State.
Yes. that was such a crazy game. We'll talk a bit more about it. We'll save that for when we do the
I
conference.
really do want to preview that Jacksonville game because correct me if I'm wrong. I know they have Zion, whatever his name, Zion Webb, 6-year quarterback, but I think they're going 2-quarterback system as well. And the one thing I will say, and it's not just with Jacksonville State, this CUSA is kind of, and maybe this is a cool article to write on, but kind of feels like they're kind of entering the era of the dual threat quarterback. Obviously,
right.
I don't know right now Sam Houston's QB, but I know what's his name, the Western guy,
Austin Reed.
Yes, dual threat. You have, I mean, I think everyone FIU's played has been dual threat, and then you have Jacksonville State. Their QB's dual threat. FIU, P1's dual threat. I mean, a lot of guys are dual threat.
Not really Louisiana Tech though. I think Louisiana Tech they're
the only one who really isn't with.
And neither is us. I mean, we saw Grayson in the game late in the game because
I'm not talking about Grayson. I'm talking about Keywan. Keywan's dual threat.
He is dual threat, but it's funny. North Texas is a dual threat, but not in the way you think, where they would have one quarterback in the first half and one in the second. That's another weird side of dual threat, I suppose. So shout out the Fan the Flames podcast. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear us say that, Liberty's the best team in the conference. And I even have to say their social media posts are elite, man. The memes they drop before and after games is crazy. I guess you can do that when you're undefeated.
Hilarious.
Alrighty then. So let us move into this matchup we have with the 3-2 FIU Panthers versus the 2-3 New Mexico State Aggies. Unrelated, but I got to say, New Mexico State might have the most underrated logo in all of Conference USA. I'm going to save this for later, but look at their logo, dude. You have this guy with a mustache and a hat holding them things, dual-wielding revolvers. I think that's pretty sick. Anyway.
I'm glad it's from the shoulder. It's from the waist up, the logo.
It's from the waist up.
And they're holding him to laughter, Johnny.
Yeah. Johnny, I know you were trying hard, but yeah. So New Mexico State, they were an independent team last year. They were one of the teams that joined Conference USA this year, right? They actually had a decent season last year. They went 6-6. They actually lost their first 4 games last season. And then they won, I believe, 6 of their last 8 to make it into the Quick Lane Bowl, where they beat Bowling Green University. So, but as Kevin, I believe you were the one that mentioned, the one team that they did not beat last year was FIU. Grayson James threw for 3 touchdowns in that game, and 21-7 knockoff of the Aggies, right? So, I mean, history-wise, both teams have met 3 times. One was in 2004, and of course last year. So they've actually met twice. This is going to be the 3rd matchup. All of them have been in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I mean, the Aggies have not played in Miami. I mean, maybe that'll change next year, of course, now that they're in CUSA. But yeah, so I think UMass this season, or UMass, New Mexico State has had an okay season so far. 2-3 doesn't sound great, but they did have a quality win against Western Illinois. They blew them out. And of course, they beat their in-state rivals, the New Mexico Lobos, right? That's like, that's FIU beating FAU. That's the Shula Bowl. I think, what do they call it? They have a name for that rivalry in football, New Mexico State and New Mexico. I might have to look it up when I get a minute. But yeah, so let's talk a bit about their offense, right? And it's Diego Pavia, right? We had mentioned it, leading passer and rusher, 1,071 yards in the air, which is the most in Conference USA right now, I believe. Jenkins is close. He has 1,000 on the dot, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
And 268 on the ground, right? Thrown for 10 touchdowns, 4 picks, and 8 sacks. So, Kevin, I'll ask you. You've already talked a bit about Pavia. How do you think FIU's their secondary specifically is going to handle Pavia when he wants to throw, and how is the defensive front 7 going to handle him when he wants to run?
Surprisingly, these defensive backs and safeties for FIU have kind of been able to make the tackles this year, for the most part. I think that's the one thing they've really struggled on. If Pavia gets on he starts running, they're gonna struggle. I don't know how much, but definitely there's gonna be a struggle to get him down.
Yeah.
Leads the team in rushing yards. He has more rushing yards than the 2 running backs, which are pretty good. And Coach Mack highlighted them both, that they're really good running backs. But for your quarterback to have the most passing yards in CUSA, and on top of that, top 5 in rushing, I mean that says something about your QB. So we'll see. Honestly, I don't know what they'll. I would assume that most of their game plan from Liberty kind of gets translated to this New Mexico team. Very similar team, obviously less success this year for them, but
Yeah.
still, Pavi's a stud. I know he had his off field issue, but that was settled, and he will be starting no matter what, according to the offense coordinator. So yeah, should be a good game. Pavi is a stud. He's gonna have his targets. He's gonna have his targets, and if it's not Austin Reed, he may be CUSA quarter. I don't even know there's a quarterback of the year award, but if there was
offensive player of the year,
offensive player, he'll probably get that. He has a good
maybe.
shot.
I mean, it might be between him and Salter. I mean, Salter does a lot, right?
Yeah, and if Jenkins kind of gets it going.
Hey, Jenkins, hey.
Rookie freshman of the year.
That's
Kevin,
for sure.
Oh, sorry. I said Kevin for no reason. Johnny, I wanted to ask you. One of the losses for New Mexico State was their most recent one against Hawaii. They had to travel all the way to Hawaii and back after that game, right? I've heard stories about players complaining about having to play Hawaii, not because they're a great team or a bad team, because of the jet lag they experience when they have to go all the way over there to the west. Johnny, how do you think at all that the fact that they're coming off, granted, they had a week off, right? But
yeah.
Will that Hawaii loss, does that sting them? Is there any jet lag at all? Is there going to be anything worrying about that game? Or are they going to play more like how we saw them play against New Mexico? Probably the most fired up I think I've ever seen the Aggies was in their win after the New Mexico.
Well, I think definitely it's different with the rivalry game. That's a big thing. The Hawaii game is always the weird one because you said it, you know, the traveling is a big part of it, and you're playing somewhere else, and that kind of factors into it.
I want to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, I did see when they landed. I think they had a day off, and they just went to the beaches in Hawaii. They were just surfing. I don't know about surfing.
I hope that if FIU does get a bowl game, it's in Hawaii
or Bahamas.
Or Bahamas.
Or
Hawaii, Bahamas. Do I dare say Boca Raton? I think.
I don't mind Boca.
I don't mind it because it's an easy drive there, right?
Yeah, because we could definitely all make it.
Yeah, right.
Hey, next year, Shulable.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
But yeah, I think. Who was I going to say? Oh yeah, we're talking about the
Hawaii jet lag.
Hawaii jet
lag.
I don't mind having jet lag in Hawaii. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I will say it's a quick turnaround for that team because you played Saturday, and then now you got to play. Oh no, they didn't play on. They had
the bye week as well.
Never mind that. Yeah. Then they should be just fine, Jake.
Yeah, but I just think that defensively, though, that's the thing where you look at it. I think it was 42 points they gave up to Hawaii. That's the thing. I think the defense is one that interests me a little bit with the Aggies because look, FIU is kind of due to have another big offensive game coming off. You know, only putting up 6 points, and I think this is a good opportunity for FIU to have the offense shine again with Key-One under center. And this is a New Mexico team that is yet to have an interception. They don't really force turnovers a lot. We force a lot of turnovers, so I think the Panthers could take advantage of that and try to make some noise tonight.
I will say I was going to say something. Oh, they don't have an interception yet this year.
Isn't that a crazy stat? Are they like?
And they also rank at the bottom. I can't find quarterback pressures, but they rank at the bottom of sacks, which should kind of tell you they kind of rank at the bottom of quarterback sack of sack. Kind of tells you that they kind of rank at the bottom of quarterback pressures. Then along with that, FIU kind of actually ranks right below them in sacks. So they're tied at 8, but kind of
tied at 8. I don't know what differentiates them to the point where FIU has to be ranked by.
There's something. It's probably pressures or something.
It doesn't matter because they can all change in a game, right? But yeah, Johnny, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think I want to say they're the only team in the conference that has not recorded an interception at this point.
They do not have.
That is insane.
Think of this. Liberty didn't have an interception going into FIU, so we'll see.
Interesting to think about. Before we talk about the defense a bit more, this is let's not beat around the bush. This is a run-based team, right? For New Mexico State, they love to have success on the run. They've thrown the ball 66 times this season, and they've run the ball 166 times this season. Jeez. Right? Whether it is Pavia or if it's Star Thomas, which is like one of the coolest names I've heard, Star Thomas. That's such a great name for a
What's
running
cooler,
back.
Rowdy Beers or Star Thomas?
I think Rowdy Beers for the fun factor, Star Thomas for the actual like related to the sport factor.
Yeah, that's a cool name.
Yeah. So I think we have seen. I'll ask this to you, Kevin. I think we've seen FIU's rush defense absolutely obliterate teams such as UConn and Maine, and for the most part, Louisiana Tech in the beginning of that game, right? How do you think FIU's rushing defense is going to negate any and all rushing yards and attempts that New Mexico State wants to do, which of course will have to set them up for the pass?
I wouldn't say FIU's necessarily been demolishing the rush game. They actually they're arguably one of the worst teams in CUSA when it comes to rush defense. So I mean,
They looked very impressive in that UConn game. Granted, the first drive, a couple drives of UConn was not great, right? Yes. But then they figured it out to close out the first.
Still, I mean, against Maine, you let them run all over you. Let's be honest, they weren't supposed to win that game. La Tech, you did make a good point. That's the only one. And then aside from that, Liberty, they ran all over you. And North Texas, they ran all over you. North Texas as well. They're quarterback. Yeah, so I wouldn't say FIU's defense. I mean, man, FIU's defense does not match up well against this Aggies offense, I would say, personally. Yeah. You just got to hope that you pressure the quarterback enough to either let him pass the ball or you are able to get a couple sacks. Because if not, FIU is going to be in trouble with not only Star Thomas, as you mentioned, who's been really good for them this year, but Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers, who've also been, both dual threat guys. And if they're going to sling it, they will sling it. So they're going to be in a tough. It's going to be a tough game for them.
So how do you think they'll fare against Jonathan Brady, who's I believe is their wide receiver one, or basically is 252 yards, 3 touchdowns so far this season? How do you see their secondary potentially forcing what they do much better than New Mexico State? We can acknowledge that. Their ability to create interceptions. How do you think they'll fare against him?
I think it all comes down to the front seven, Jake. If they're able to get that stop, you're good. If you're able to make the stop, you're going to force the pass, something that, as you mentioned, they are not very used to. You're good. You'll probably put Hezekiah Masses on Jonathan Brady, as you mentioned. I know Mac also mentioned the tight ends for them, big physical tight ends, as he likes to say. So, should be a tough game. But this Aggies offense is a lot better than what you see on paper. For the most part, if we're not at the middle of the conference in most offensive rankings, they're either number 2 or number 1. And they have the best rush offense in Conference USA.
Johnny, I'd like to ask you about, as you had mentioned, maybe it's a bit of inexperience and transfers and graduation, et cetera. But I do think New Mexico State's defense is their biggest weakness in the team overall. And so, Johnny, I'd like to ask you, how should FIU attack this defense, considering their inability to force turnovers and their not so amazing pass and rush defense? How should they tackle this?
Yeah, I think they should really, try to go back to what was successful. You think about the North Texas game and even the UConn game in that first half. I thought he was able to kind of mix and match things that they wanted to do. You saw them kind of maybe find guys open. I think a very big in the Yost offense is the going quick, the speed, no huddle. I think FIU goes back to that. I think it's just a mix. I think if you want to find ways to kind of, be, kind of detailed, and I think they're able to run the ball. I do think that Kiwan's going to have some time to throw it up. I would not be surprised if Chris Mitchell and our guy Jalen Bracey has some nice runs. I'm still looking for a Dean Patterson touchdown. Still waiting on that. He's going to get one sooner than later. But I think the receiver will have some good moments, standouts, opportunities, and even Jackson McDonald even gives some love to the tight ends as well. So I think the pass game will be back on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's the big thing, the 3 tight end system, and that's kind of what I really liked from the last game. They used all 3 tight ends a really good amount too. I know Josiah was injured for 1 week, and they've been kind of going with McDonald and Rocky. Yes, Rocky. Yep. So they've been going with those 2 guys a lot more. But I mean, man, when you're trying to get a run game going, you kind of need those 2 tight ends. They've been using that. You look at La Tech, that was a big reason why the run game kind of worked. You had those 2 tight ends as extra offensive linemen, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah. And if the run game gets going, they can absolutely set up the passing game, especially one of my favorite things that FIU loves to do out of random, the long ball to Chris Mitchell from Jenkins. I think we can absolutely see a few of those against this Mexico State defense. Granting their secondary might struggle with guarding Chris Mitchell like Kader Kohu did against Stephon Diggs. I'm sorry. I didn't want to really bring up the Dolphins, but I mean, come on.
I wasn't gonna say it.
It was not their best game.
I was gonna say it did not look like Tua and Tyreek connection last week, and neither did it for Miami.
Yeah. All right. So, gentlemen, any final thoughts about this? About what we can expect specifically from New Mexico State?
I'm just excited. I'm intrigued, I guess is the word, to see how they kind of respond to these Wednesday games. According to what Coach McIntyre said, they kind of look pretty good. So we'll see.
They have looked good, but yeah, recent history. I see recent. Last year, FIU walked into Las Cruces. New Mexico State was favored, and they walked away with the win. We'd love to see that.
They're still favored too by two touchdowns,
like
which
two
is wild.
touchdowns. I think.
Actually, I don't know, dude. I don't know when FIU is going to be.
I think that changed, by the way.
They actually dropped down eventually. Now it's 6. So
good. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. I thought too. Yeah. And I'm never gonna say where FIU should be favored, but I didn't think it should have been 2 touchdown favorites.
That just felt disrespectful, honestly.
And to think FIU won last year in Mexico.
Right.
The
Aggies are a better team, man. The Aggies have to be better offense.
They know what to expect crowd wise, and they know at least some of the players for New Mexico State.
I'll say this. I was watching a video yesterday, just like kind of projections for CUSA. And this past year, some dude had them going 1-11 and going 0-8 in the conference. I'm like, I know they're not like I knew they maybe weren't going to make the bowl game, but I didn't think it'd be that bad. Like,
yeah,
come on. Like, people have been doubting FIU from the start, and not to go into Jonathan Mayer rant here, but they have a good chance to go to a bowl game. So it starts.
I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that.
I think if FIU wants to get into a bowl game, they have to take advantage of who they play.
They got to beat Sam Houston.
Right? It's Sam Houston State, Jacksonville State, and who am I forgetting?
New Mexico.
UTEP.
And New Mexico. You could get 7 wins.
Yes, that put winning the entire month of October puts you in 7 wins. So regardless of what happens against Arkansas, who is a great team, against West,
they lost against Texas A&M.
They did lose. It was a close game, but they did have some impressive wins prior. And granted, they are an SEC school, right? At the end of the day, it's the SEC. They're not. Are they going to be scared? No. But granted, Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and then Middle Tennessee, as you mentioned, not doing their best, right? So. Yeah, it should be a fun match. But I think for the most part, it's relatively even. Of course, we'll get into predictions at the end of the preview. So let's jump into our next segment real quick. It is a look around FIU athletics, starting off with men's soccer with a 5-2-2 record on the season. They are coming off 3 straight wins against conference opponents against Temple, Memphis, and South Florida, and they are going to be back at it tonight at 8 o'clock. So you could probably catch most of if you have 2 screens, you can watch soccer and football, but you can at least catch the first half maybe of their game tonight at 8 p.m. against UAB, the Blazers, also a conference opponent that is on the road, however, at Birmingham. So
let me add, this is the 3-0 is the best start in American Athletic Conference for FIU since joining the American Conference. Best start 3-0.
And that's crazy to think considering their first season last year in the American. Well, they won the chip they won the tourney, right?
And also to note, Saturday they play number 3 ranked SMU. So
that's on Sunday.
UAB tonight, which UAB is winless.
By tonight he means Wednesday, by the way.
Yeah. And FIU can make some big moves Saturday or Sunday. So this Sunday night will be the biggest game so far this season, taking on number 3 team in SMU. So hopefully everyone can come out there and support the guy. That's gonna be a huge game.
Yeah. So tonight at 8 o'clock on the road, the UAB Blazers, and then Sunday at 7 at home against the 6th-ranked Southern Methodist Ponies, who of course are moving to.
Speaking of UAB, did you guys see the Trent Dilfer thing?
I did. That was such a strange segment. Kevin, would you mind just quickly giving me a refresher? I don't know the extent of it. Right?
What?
The Dilfer.
Oh, I don't know. I just saw him scream.
Oh, well, he screams a lot. He's a coach.
No, but like, dude, like I get it, but I've never seen something like that. And he did that to a kid in high school too. So it's like,
That's
when
very
he was a
strange.
high school coach. Like, and I get it. You're passionate about the game, and we won't go into a whole discussion about this because we still have to talk about women's soccer. Shout out to them.
Yeah, women's soccer. We have something cool to announce maybe at the end of this preview. But women's soccer right now.
Announce it at the end of the athletic look around.
Yeah, what the hell? Why not? 7-3-2 record for women's soccer right now, by the way. They're coming off a tie against Western Kentucky, 1-1. Prior to that, a loss against FAU. That always sucks. But a win against Sam Houston not that long ago, back on September 21st. Anyway, they are hosting the Liberty Flames on Saturday, October 7th at 6 p.m.
Undefeated Liberty Flames.
No, they did. Liberty just lost, by the way.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, so they're 11-1.
Who'd they lose to?
New Mexico State.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
It all comes back to New Mexico State, huh?
It really does.
Yeah, so that should be a fun matchup against Liberty at home at the FIU Soccer Stadium Saturday, October 7th at 6 p.m. And before we move on, of course, volleyball as well. 8-9 records so far at this very moment. They're actually coming off 4 straight wins against Louisiana Tech and Sam Houston State in those doubleheaders. They're going to be They're actually going to be wrapping up. I believe this preview will go at around 6 or 7. They'll be finishing up a series against Middle Tennessee at that same time. Their next matchup up ahead is on the road and against UTEP on Saturday and Sunday, August 7th or October 7th and 8th at 7 and 2 p.m. respectively. So, Kevin, you want to introduce who our next guest on the show is going to be this Thursday?
Yes. So on tomorrow, Thursday, we will be talking to FIU women's soccer player, Anna Rocket. We are very excited to have her on. She actually listens to the show, we heard. So very excited to have our first female guest on the podcast. That's cool,
really cool. And yeah, Johnny with the Slater scoop she's a big fan of the show.
So that should be fun. She's really cool. She's a cool, I guess, personality, I guess you could say. She was on the she always wants to, she's a talker. So we're excited to have her on. And give a big shout out to women's soccer. They deserve it. They've been great.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Johnny. You're your women's soccer group, the best starting program history. So
and it really, right now it's on pace for the best start in over 15 years.
So from a team that wasn't very good last season. From a team that wasn't very good last season, Anna Rocket comes from LSU. Mm-hmm. So she's writing out her final year, I believe, of eligibility here at FIU, where she's been great. She's been great, setting up a lot of plays. Really good defense. She's defense, I believe. So very excited to have her on. She's gonna be really cool, and can't wait.
Yeah, great analysis there, Kevin. And it's just cool to give women's soccer the respect they deserve because.
And then next week, men's soccer. So
men's soccer, we were that's still a work in progress, but it should be if you're a fan of soccer, it should be a fun couple of episodes ahead for the Paws Up podcast.
Yeah.
Let's get into some Conference USA predictions. Let's quickly look back at what happened.
Can we do NFL as well? Can we do NFL as well?
We'll do NFL after.
We got to fly by, though. We got to fly by.
Western Kentucky blew the brakes off of Middle Tennessee by a score of 31-10. No, not really much surprise there. The game of maybe the best Conference USA game so far was Jacksonville State rallying, coming back from a massive deficit. I believe it was 28-7 or something. Tying up Sam Houston State, forcing overtime, and knocking them off in Huntsville, 35-28. That game was ridiculous. I'm so happy I stumbled into it scrolling through ESPN Plus.
I don't. And then on Friday, we didn't predict those games though.
So. We did not predict those games. This is just a quick recap of what happened. So Louisiana Tech beat UTEP 24-10. Not a crazy game there, but let's get into this week's slate of Conference USA games. As a reminder, 8 teams active this week. UTEP is the team that has the week off, so we won't have to worry about them. So let's get right into it, gentlemen. Starting off with the one Wednesday game. We'll save our FIU prediction, of course, to the end. But let's talk Jacksonville State versus Middle Tennessee. If there's one thing I think that's very obvious about Jacksonville State, they have adversity, and they're battling against the Middle Tennessee team. Still trying to figure out if they're a legit contender for the Conference USA Championship or not. I get that it's in Murfreesboro, but I'm going to go with my guts here and say that Middle Tennessee that Jacksonville State will come in there and walk away with a win.
Yeah, I'm going Jacksonville State. Middle Tennessee's been very disappointing this year. So
yeah, probably the most disappointing team in the conference.
Yeah, I expected them not to contend, but really just to get a bowl game in there. And Hasn't been the case. Jacksonville State, FCS going to FBS. I don't think they're bowl eligible. I think that's how it worked for the first season. Same thing with Sam Houston. So I don't know if they're CUSA championship eligible. I believe they are. So
they are eligible for the championship. But as you mentioned, when you're an FCS team joining FBS, your first season, you can't go to a bowl game. I think it's the dumbest thing ever. We've seen James Madison.
They're killing it. They are
killing it, but they can't go to a bowl game, which is
ranked
this thing. Because they also made the jump from.
I believe they're ranked.
They are ranked, but guess what? It won't matter.
That's wild, man.
Isn't
that's
that
wild.
The dumbest thing? Johnny, who do you got in this game?
Honestly, I'm going to take Middle. I'll take Middle Tennessee. I think they're a type of team that, like, not to say they're inconsistent. You just can't read them sometimes. I know they lost 31-3 or I forgot the score. It was not a great loss. Yes, last week at Western. But
31-10.
31-10, yeah. I think they're a team that I think they can bounce back. They're always a team that you can't really tell. I think this is one of these games they'll win here on a Wednesday.
I will say
middle at this point. Yeah, sorry. At this point, Middle, I believe they really can't lose a game if they want to contend for a bowl game.
Yeah. So
it's gonna be harder.
Middle Tennessee wants to turn the season around. They got to do it now. They're forced. All right. So going back to the schedule, we're obviously skipping FIU, New Mexico State to the end. Let's talk about the 2 Thursday games. Sam Houston State versus Liberty. I will give Sam Houston State credit, right? In the first half of that game against Jacksonville State, they looked great. And then they just collapsed, right? They collapsed. They let this Jacksonville State team beat them in their own home. And now they have to take on Liberty. I think we're all going to agree here. We're taking the Flames.
Yeah.
Yes, Johnny.
Oh, mic is off. I mean, you're right. Sam Houston put up a fight. I think Liberty is going to keep going, keep rolling. This is a game that they should win for sure. I mean, Sam Houston was an FCS team. Liberty is great. I think Liberty will.
Where was Liberty before? Were they just like
they were independent?
Independent, right? Okay.
Yeah. So, but I think that this will be this is a game they have to win. Liberty. I mean, from a standpoint that they're right now one of the best mid-major teams you could say, and they're playing like it. And I think a game like this, you got to win big time for the Flames.
Moving on to our final game to talk about Conference USA wise, it is Western Kentucky against Louisiana Tech. Both of these teams had pretty solid wins. I think this might be the best Conference USA game out of these 4 as far as the 2 teams involved. Both handedly defeated their opponents, UTEP for Louisiana Tech and Middle Tennessee for Western. You could go either. I think this is a 50-50 game. You can go either way. But Louisiana Tech is home. They do have some key players that we have been witness to. I'll go the Bulldogs, but I say it's going to be close. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes into overtime.
Looking like 3rd straight week without Hank Bachmeier for Louisiana Tech. He's out with a shoulder.
That hasn't stopped him, funny enough.
I know, right? But they're going with Jack Turner. I'm going to go with Western Kentucky. They're a really good team. But I think you said it right, Jake. I wouldn't say 50-50, but definitely close. It'll be a close match.
I think it will, and I think Western is a team that played really well against Middle. I think they lost to Troy the week before, which is kind of a surprising one. I think now you'll see.
Troy's a good team, though. Don't kid yourselves.
Yeah, Troy's good. They won the Sun Belt. But I think Western is now kind of going to go on that run that we were all expecting of winning games and kind of trying to contend for a top spot in the conference. And I think this month for them will be huge, really for everybody. But I think for Western to kind of solidify themselves as the team in the conference.
Okay. All righty then. So that is the conference schedule. I was sitting there thinking, man, should I?
You took Western, right, Johnny? You took Western.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't say okay.
I took La Tech, but now I'm starting to consider
Too late.
Oh, that's fine. I believe it's.
Let's go to NFL. We got 10 minutes.
Yes, let's quickly go to the NFL. Gosh. Alrighty then. Funny enough, because this comes out on Wednesday, we can actually predict the Thursday night game. So it's the Toilet Bowl. It's Chicago at Washington.
Give me Washington.
I'll take Chicago. They're not.
Justin Fields didn't. It's just that the rest of his team is basura.
Chicago. The Bears are winning. Justin Fields to the moon.
I still don't really know what to expect with Sam Howell, but I do think the Washington overall is a better team, if not by much.
They've been pretty good though.
They've been pretty good. I mean, who do they? I know they almost beat Philadelphia. They were a touchdown.
Exactly. They didn't come on.
Yeah. All right. Now on to the Sunday game. Starting off with another London game. Of course, it's Jacksonville. I believe they were just at Wembley. They were part of that Toy Story
What you
event.
think of that? What you think of that?
It's cool.
I saw your tweet. I saw your tweet, Kevin. It was great. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't think it was very good.
Listen, it was clear and obvious that they learned a lot because there were a lot of glitches, a lot of technical difficulties. It's a great idea. If it makes kids fall in love with the sport, then all the power to them. And it reminded me a lot of those Nickelodeon games that the CBS sometimes.
But those were cool. Those were cool. Having
those.
like an animated toy, and when a kickoff drops, the ball glitches somewhere else. Are you serious?
That happened a bunch of times. But I
It
will
was
say,
horrible. The
when
Toy
it
Story
worked,
was bad.
look, Kevin. When it worked, it looked cool, in my opinion.
Yes, I will
worked,
say there's times where I was looking at some of the clips on Twitter. It looked cool.
Like, did you see the little
the Robinson juke? The Robinson juke.
Bijan Robinson juke. That was 3D.
Yeah. They have a lot to learn. Obviously, I don't think this is going to be the last time they do that. Anyway, Jacksonville they're not even leaving London. They're staying the week because they're going to play in Tottenham Stadium against Buffalo. And I think that's actually a great matchup, Jacksonville and Buffalo. Across the pond, as they say. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills, sadly. I mean, we all were witness to how good the Bills can look when they want to take football games seriously. I'll take the Bills.
Give me Jacksonville. I really like.
Hey, I respect the pick, Kevin.
I like what they're doing this year. I think they're legit, man. Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, that dude was look great. Their defense is lethal. I really like that, and I think these two teams match up very well. This is a repeat to the wild card round of a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Except it was Tyrod Taylor versus I think Blake Bortles. So different QB, but still a cool game. I'll take
who do you think wins?
Tell me the teams again.
Oh my God, Johnny.
Jacksonville and Buffalo in London.
Oh, that's why Tyrod Taylor. Give me Josh Allen. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the safe pick, but I think it's going to be the right pick. What are some of the best matchups in across, like not in the United States? You have this matchup, and then you have Chiefs, Dolphins, in Germany.
That one's going to be cool, though. That's going to be cool.
But why is it way over there or there?
The game.
Wrap it up. We got like 5 minutes.
All right, Houston at Atlanta.
Houston.
Ooh,
They've been kind of getting it going.
Texans they're making some things happen.
Yeah. Carolina at Detroit.
Ooh, Detroit.
Tennessee at Indianapolis.
Ooh, I'll go Indy. I'm giving Indy.
Yeah,
I want the upset.
I think they're really good. They almost beat the Rams too.
Is it really an upset? I don't know. I feel confident in Indianapolis. Give me the Colts.
Alrighty.
New York Giants at Miami.
Dolphins.
Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to play pissed. They're going to win.
Well, Teron Armstead's out, so
Armstead is out, but they'll find that didn't stop their offensive line from looking pretty good against the Chargers and the Patriots.
Right? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. New Orleans at New England.
Ooh.
New Orleans.
New England is
not a good situation.
Not at all.
I'm sorry, I'm going to take the Patriots. I don't know why. They're at home. They're going to play mad because they just got exposed by Dallas. They'll find a way to bounce back.
Okay.
Baltimore at Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Kenny Pickett will likely not be playing, so Kenny Pickett injured himself. So yeah, Ravens.
Who's the backup? Is it Mitch Trubisky?
Trubisky, yeah, Trubisky.
Wild.
Cincinnati at Arizona.
Is Kyler Murray back?
No.
Give me the Cardinals. I don't know what to think of
the Cardinals as well.
Cincinnati Cardinals. I'm thinking that feels delusional.
The Jets have their injury, and that's why they're not doing great. But Cincinnati is the most disappointing team in the NFL.
Bengals are cooked, man.
They're cooked. Their Super Bowl window is closing, but I'll take the
Cardinals.
I
wouldn't say that.
No.
If they can't figure it out this year, something's gonna change, right? I mean, you pay all that money, and he's just not.
Jack Taylor.
Yeah, something will change. Philadelphia at the LA Rams.
Philly.
Philly at an LA.
Yeah,
I'll take the Rams.
I'm going to say Philly, but the Rams make it close. They'll make it interesting.
Yeah.
New York Jets at Denver.
Denver.
I feel like Zach Wilson had a fraud game, but like
they almost beat the Chiefs. How is that a fraud game?
give me the Jets.
Okay.
Alrighty then. Jets.
Chiefs at Vikings.
Give me KC.
Where is it? At
Minnesota. You're not seriously considering taking the Vikings, are you, Kevin?
The Vikings are better, bro. Like not better than the Chiefs, but better than.
I was about to say. I was confused.
I'll take Kansas though.
I
hate the Chiefs though. I hate them. Like,
by the way, I should mention Cincinnati onwards. We talked about where the 4 o'clock games. This is going to be the 8 o'clock game on Sunday. Dallas at San Francisco should be a great game. I'm going to take the 49ers because they are at home, and Christian McCaffrey is a god.
Give me the Niners.
Hey,
Niners.
Okay, and Monday night, the Green Bay taking on the Las Vegas Raiders in the stadium that doesn't even support their own team because almost all the fans are from the other team that want to come to Vegas and spend the weekend. I'm going to go Green Bay. I do not like them.
I want Jimmy G.
He's injured.
Oh, he is?
Give me the Packers. He has a concussion.
Jordan Love looking pretty good, not going to lie.
Who's the backup for the Raiders?
I have no idea.
Just take the Packers.
Just take the Packers, Johnny.
No, I'm taking the Raiders.
Okay. Aiden Connell or whoever he is.
That's an easy L for you, man. Alrighty then. We've talked Conference USA. We've talked NFL. Now here is the question. Who wins, FIU or New Mexico State? I'll start us off.
Sorry to tell you, but I think we're all in agreement who's winning this game, right?
Okay, we'll score predictions as well to make it spicy.
Exactly.
It's going to be high scoring, but I think the big thing here is I trust FIU's defense more than New Mexico State's defense. I think both offenses are going to have their way for the most part, but when you need a defense to make a stop, I think FIU's is going to do it. I'll say FIU 30, New Mexico State 21.
FIU wins 41-38.
41. Damn.
It's going to be a high-scoring game.
I'm going high scoring, too. I think Keyon's going to light up. Lights out. Will light up for three tutties. Shamari Lawrence gets on the fun. I'm going to go with Jackson McDonald and Dean Patterson get their first career touchdowns.
Hey, I like that.
Chris Mitchell gets a touchdown. FIU wins 35-31. Donovan Manuel gets another forced fumble. CJ Christian gets another pick. I said my piece. 35-31. FIU wins.
Jesus Christ, man!
Wow,
I think you called for more players scoring touchdown than you actually put points on the board.
I repeat: Dean Patterson TD, Jackson McDonald TD, Chris Mitchell TD, Donovan Manuel another forced fumble, and CJ Christian another interception.
If all of that happens, Johnny, you will be the god of predictions.
Yeah.
If they get
it,
2
minutes. Wrap up.
Yeah. So again, thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting the Paws Up preview so much, Kevin, Johnny. It's been a pleasure. Let's hope for a good game here. And remember, before we get to Paws Up, Thursday, Anna Rocket comes to town for episode 34 of the Paws Up podcast. That is going to be sick.
Rocket.
But yeah. Until next time, enjoy the game. We'll see y'all at halftime and post game. And oh yes, Paws Up.